This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello. This is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about culture, and where I guess we applaud the return of the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I am your host, Negin Farsad, and you guys, apparently society is finally ready to re-embrace underwear-clad models wearing wings. They first canceled the fashion show in 2018, citing a need to, quote, evolve the marketing of Victoria's Secret. And I guess what they meant by that was the evolution would be boomeranging into exactly back to where it was. So today, we'll skip the undies and instead talk about Kamala courting the black male vote. We'll talk about Trump dancing his way through a town hall, which sounds like an analogy for something, but it isn't. It's literally, that's what happened. We'll talk about the latest public health crisis. And yes, I'm being vague because you got to listen to this segment. And finally, Cards Against Humanity and shrinking meals are in the news. Today's panel, folks, you guys, oh my God. Andrew is just truly outdoing himself on panel creation. And today's panel is the height of panel creation. We have with us a favorite of the show. He has a show on Sirius XM called Tell Me Everything that is a must listen. But he also has a book coming out next year. It's called Separation of Church and Hate from Simon Schuster. I cannot wait to get my hands on that book. He's also going to be doing the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour. And on November 2nd, there's a special one at the Orpheum in LA with Mark Hamill, Martin Sheen, and pre-Senator Adam Schiff. So you can get your tickets for sexyliberal.com. And it is the wonderful and the incredible John Fugelsang. Hey, John Fugelsang.
Hello, Negin. Thank you. Hello.
Oh my gosh, so excited to have you back on the show. And we are also joined now for the very first time, although I've had the great pleasure of working with him before. He's just a wonderful comedian who has just umpteen years of comedy experience on every television show you can name. And he's now on the CNN show, Have I Got News for You? He is so funny. I had so much fun working with him the one time I got to do that show because he is the incredible Michael Ian Black. Hey.
Nice to be here.
So fun to have you. Before we get in the show, just a little quick reminder that you can go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to get bonus episodes of the show, support the show, become a patron of the show. So go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad. Thanks to everyone who's done that. You guys are delightful. And by the way, the bonus episodes are where the wild shit is. So that's where you want to go, is the bonuses. Here we go.
How much money are you making from Patreon doing this?
Oh my God, what a totally comfortable question you've just asked.
I figured it would be a good way to start.
Yes.
Are you paying your bills from Patreon? Are you doing the whole thing? Is it going well?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do like what Trump does and just not answer. And then instead, let's play this next tune. It's called Topic Number 1. The election is in full panic, and one of the points of panic are whether black men will turn out for Kamala. It's thought that white women lost the race for Hillary in 2016, and black men could do that in 2024. Now, Trump is oddly popular among some black men. I don't want to overstate these numbers. But that is the kind of headline that we're seeing over and over and over again. So I guess now I just want to point out, I'm asking two white men to try and explain this phenomenon, but also there's like a media phenomenon. Why do you even think that this is a constant headline, John?
Because legacy media loves talking about it. I mean, our media loves talking about it, and white people in media love talking about, the fact that how humiliating it'll be for Kamala Harris if she only gets 88% of the African-American vote. I mean, just imagine the humiliation. Like, she might only beat Donald Trump by double digits in his own adopted home state. The legacy media has one job, and that is to generate money for shareholders. Their job is not to turn out the vote or protect democracy. So this is a clickbait sort of thing. I just want to say testosterone rots the brain, and that's across all races. So, of course, there may be plenty of African American guys who really want to vote but don't want to educate themselves too much and are in it to vote for a racist. The most reliable voting bloc in America is black women for Democrats, and the second most reliable voting bloc in America are black men for Democrats. But this is America. You get one rapper to say he's for Trump, and the media goes crazy. Yes, Kanye, we know you like gigantic asses. We get it. So I sort of think this will be great for people to blame black men for the administration of a white man who spray tans himself to be less white.
Well, let me just say that, okay, so I'm married to a black man, so I'm going to do that like Thomas Friedman thing where I'm like, I took a cab and this is what the cab driver said. I asked my black husband, as a representative of all black men, why are black men thinking about voting for Trump? And by the way, Trump won 14% of the black male vote in 2016 and 12% in 2020. So you're absolutely right, John. It's still 88% would be voting for Kamala. But so Michael, my husband said that he thinks the reason is because they don't want to vote for a lady. Now, I wonder, you as a representative of all men, have you heard in the locker rooms that you frequent complaints about voting for a lady?
Well, I can tell you that, I'm a pretty reliable Democratic voter, but I'm on the fence in this election. I mean, do I vote for an absolutely insufferable, crazy fascist, or do I vote for a woman? And I'm torn, Negin.
Yeah,
I'm very, very torn.
I get it.
Yeah. It's really hard.
I mean, at least there's the devil I know, But my goodness, what happens if we get a lady in the White House? Are they going to call it the Pink House all of a sudden? Is she gonna replace the Resolute desk with a chiffon throw pillow? I don't know. It's terrifying.
Just one chiffon throw pillow.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll just be like really plush bean bags where all the chiefs of staff and the generals will do meetings on these little really plush.
I don't want my generals surrounded by chwal. And I'm sorry if that makes me a sexist. That makes me a sexist.
I'm not a sexist. I'm just deeply insecure about my own manhood, and that's why I can't vote for a woman. Sexism's got nothing to do with it.
Wait,
I'm with you, John.
Yeah, so you should respect my male anxiety. Respect my fragility, woman.
So I don't know if I told the story on the podcast before. Forgive me if I already did. I know I've said it on in a stand-up stage once, but I was walking in the East Village and there was these two dudes behind me, and they were saying, "Oh my God, this Kamala thing, what a nightmare. We can't let her win." And this is like, again, why I love eavesdropping, is I get to hear stuff like this. Never wear a headphone. Make sure I keep the ears open. And they go, "Oh my God, what Xi Jinping is just going to be like, hey, suck my dick, Kamala." And that's the kind of stuff he's going to tell her or whatever.
He gets that now. He's got that very comfortably with Donald Trump.
That's true.
Right, except Trump reciprocates. Trump's happy to do it. I don't know that Kamala will.
That's sad but true.
So they're going on and on with this kind of thing. And they go, "Man, if she wins, we're going to have to move." And I was thinking, oh my God, where are they going to move? What country? And they go, "We're going to have to move." And they go, and the other guy goes, "Yeah, we're just going to have to move to Florida." And I was like, "You fucking idiots. Florida's not an independent sovereign country of which Ron DeSantis is the emperor." Anyway, so my point is, I have in the locker room chatter of St. Mark's Street in the East Village, which, by the way, I feel like that neighborhood probably went 98% for Joe Biden in 2020. So I was just shocked to even have that kind of political leaning in the neighborhood. So we don't know why. I think one other thing I wanted to mention about the way we view these kind of racial groups and how they vote is it may be time to consider that Black voters are also not a monolith, and neither are Latino voters,
of course.
right?
No, I will not consider that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How dare you?
Maybe there's more connection on a class basis. It's a possibility for these voters. You know what I mean? Because maybe there's
I don't know
education.
what you mean.
I think John makes a good point. we are, or people are up in arms about the numbers, but the last number I saw was Trump has, I think, the support of 15% of Black male voters. That's still 85% of Black male voters who aren't going to be supporting Donald Trump. So yeah, I mean, obviously no group is monolithic. Obviously there are different factions with any group and different opinions and different belief systems. I mean, I think it speaks worse to the Republicans than it does to the Democrats. I mean, for decades now, they've been trying, I'm putting this in air quotes, to do outreach to these minority communities. And for decades now, they've been failing. So the indictment is really against the Republicans, not against Kamala Harris and the Democrats. I mean, 15% is terrible.
But it's amazing if you can get 15% of Black men to vote for a guy who's been a public racist for over 50 years. I mean, look, they got enough white women to be dead inside to vote for a rapist who calls women pieces of ass. I'm sorry. This is an even greater victory to get Black men to support a racist.
One of the things I've heard a lot in by the way, I listened to the Charlemagne the God interview that she had, and the thing, again, that's really frustrating is to watch someone come so utterly prepared for an interview. She had fucking every statistic about Black men and how they would be affected with her policies, positively affected and negatively affected by his policies. I mean, she was talking about...
Is she selling sneakers? Is she selling gold sneakers?
Exactly. It's like she literally was talking about rates of colon cancer among Black men and how they outpace the regular population, what she would do about it. It's like how granular this woman got with her policy prescriptions was outrageously impressive. And she also
could we say, Negin, that she was a little too prepared? Because
Yeah.
I don't like that either.
I'd
I don't
like
like
to
that.
find a way to put her down for this, if possible. I'd like to disparage her if we can for being prepared.
It's so rare in my life that I get to use the word misogynoir, but I do think there is an aspect of that in the larger culture, and I suspect even in the Black culture. Because there certainly is in the white culture. So I think John's probably right. I mean, I do think there is no baked-in assumption that just because a Black woman is running for an office, that the Black male vote has to get behind them. I mean, if Condoleezza Rice were running on the Republican side, I wouldn't expect Black male Democrats to suddenly get in line behind Condoleezza Rice. So I don't think that it's that mysterious why this is happening, because people don't necessarily vote. They will vote some of their interests, but not all of their interests, and maybe some candidates don't necessarily appeal to all of their interests.
Right.
Like maybe they just hate women, and we have to respect that.
And by the way, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like there aren't Iranians, male Iranians that I have met that will be not voting for her because she's a woman. So like it's not
You're
not
saying
just
there's ultra-conservative, sexist Muslim men? Is that what you're suggesting on this show?
Yes, revolutionary state.
Like fundamentalist conservative Muslims who keep women subordinate, you're suggesting?
Breaking news here on Fake the Nation. All right, let's move on to this other thing. Let's move on to this other thing on the Trump side of things, which is that he held a town hall in Pennsylvania moderated by Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, shooter of puppy dogs, first of her name. And first, Trump said a bunch of crazy things in an attempt to, let's just say, answer questions. Then there was, like, sadly, a fainting issue with someone in the audience, so that interrupted things for a minute. Then Trump got bored answering questions, so he started, like, basically DJing the town hall by requesting songs and then just dancing along to the music. He would sway and then stand in utter silence on stage while no one had any idea what to do. Some people in the audience were, like, sort of playing along, like Kristi Noem variously looked confused or pretended like she was into it. His staff begged him, apparently via teleprompter, to answer 2 more questions and then wrap it up. The songs kept coming. I think the whole thing was about 39 minutes, according to Washington Post.
Yes.
Why don't we just round it up to 40? Why don't we say it was a 40-minute easy listening rave? Go.
There's the lying left, right again. The lying left, spreading misinformation or disinformation. I haven't checked the pamphlet to see which one of those means, but when it's only 39 minutes to say 40 minutes, and that's why I'm voting for the racist.
God, I mean, okay, this is what pisses me off. We spent a year talking about Biden being old. This to me is also weird, old, like behavior, and it's not every headline.
I'm not sure I agree with you, Negin. November Rain, which is one of the songs that he played, that came out only 30 something years ago.
Yeah,
So to
only
say that like
1991
somehow
was
he's
Gabe.
old, come
Here's
Which
the,
on.
implies
the
he's
most
out
of
of touch.
the most offensive thing about this entire story to me was that Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You was one of the songs. And that is my literal always go to karaoke song. And I love that song. So to like play that song in that context made me
Yeah.
that. I mean, the racism and bigotry is second to that
It's almost like
offense.
the singer and the songwriter aren't around to protest.
Right.
Almost
I
like
know.
they would. I mean, he played Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which is a great song for dumb people who think it's about Christmas. And the Rufus Wainwright version. I mean, the Rufus Wainwright after YMCA, where I come from, that's a cry for help for a certain kind of man.
So
Where I come from, that's the
embarrassing.
soundtrack to the bathhouse that I attend.
Exactly right. Now, this is what we call the sane washing of the sundowning. That's exactly what it was. Because I don't really expect more than this from Donald Trump. Why should he take questions? It's only a town hall. It's when the New York Times calls it an impromptu DJ session. You know, I'm old enough to remember the media talking about the mental acuity of presidential candidates. And I just want to say, I'm really worried about the obvious cognitive decline of a corporate media that can't accurately report this. I'm worried about our media, and we have to start talking about it.
No, this is exactly.
They've
And
lost a step.
also, I have to mention too, just like the Ave Maria and YMCA in the same breath. That's so interesting. Okay, but also. I agree. Like, how did we take the Biden thing based on? I don't remember. I don't remember what all the stories were, but they were like not as plentiful as the Trump stories. I feel like last week we had a Trump story that indicated his cognitive decline. This week he spent 39 minutes of a town hall swaying awkwardly in front of thousands of people.
Yes.
It's not normal. And I don't know why it's not the main story. And
You
that
don't really? You don't?
I feel
You
like
really don't?
you're bearing the lead a little bit, Negin, because you
Okay.
opened this segment by saying that Nothing Compares to You is your go-to karaoke jam.
Yeah.
And yet nowhere in there did you volunteer to sing even a couple lines from
It's
Nothing
true.
Compares to
Yeah,
You.
it's true.
And
It's been several hours and 16 days. Okay, good. There we go.
Wow, you went very soulful with that. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
That was very good.
Apologies to the listeners that they had to endure those 10 seconds.
I mean, it's hard to say it's the weirdest moment in the campaign, but it's got to be top 3, right? I mean,
I agree.
it's just deeply, deeply weird. Somebody on Twitter was saying, and look, I don't know, I have no idea whether this is accurate or not, but it feels accurate, which is just as good as being true. That one of the signs of like narcissistic personality disorder is this sense of if I do this thing that I enjoy, meaning these songs that I enjoy, then everybody else will be as into it as I am and will feel this deep connection with me because I'm blessing you with YMCA and Ave Maria and Rufus Wainwright's Oeuvre. So that felt true to me, like in a way, like he was trying to communicate through his DJ session and just sort of assumed that everybody would get it. The way like my college roommate used to play Radiohead to me, and I'd be like, I don't know, man. But you know what, Negin?
Right.
Eventually, I did get it, which is why I'm voting for Trump.
Wearing my Radiohead T-shirt as we speak.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
it's true. But I mean,
yeah.
if Donald Trump had sat there and said, "Let me explain what these songs mean to me," then it would have been this liberal woke thing we call context, and it would have been a bit more on the coherent part of the train. Instead, this just looked like an unassisted living facility. I mean, and you got to remember when this was done. And again, these are all artists who have told him to not play their music. It's almost like he has a problem with the word consent. But then he left and he spent half the night after a long weekend of dehumanizing immigrants and promising to sic the U.S. military on American citizens who oppose him. He had the energy and the verve to stay up until 1 a.m. demanding Vice President Harris take a dementia test just like him. So I don't really see what's wrong here. It all seems perfectly on point for me. I will say the New York Times really misses their circulation numbers of 2017 to 2021. And the media sure does have some awful nostalgia for the hate-watching clickbait years that Donald Trump provided. The media's only bias is shareholders and dollar signs and ratings and eyeballs. And that's why the media will... Look, if covering everything Kamala Harris did right got them clicks, they would do that.
Right.
Donald Trump doesn't realize all of these ratings he gets, most of it comes from hate watching. He is the True Detective season 2 of American politics. But I just want to say, if you're up all night, demanding she take a dementia test, we should remind folks, bragging that you passed your dementia test is just a way of telling us they made you take a dementia test.
All right, folks. Oh, last thing I want to say on this, and then we'll close it up, which is that one of the things I loved about this whole thing was Kamala's response to it, where they just put together a series of clips from the event and then just wrote, "Hope he's okay" on Instagram. And I thought that was both a little dig and rather classy. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue talking. And we are back and we're ready for topic number 2. There is a public health crisis in the United States, and the Surgeon General just came out with a warning about it. And that public health crisis is parenting, literally just being a parent. It'll make you sick. So I guess, no, both of you are parents. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as parents, were you surprised that this was a Surgeon General warning?
I'm glad somebody finally acknowledged it.
Yeah.
Parenting is horrible. Horrible. The worst years of my life were when my children were little. My God, what terrors. What awful way to spend your day, taking care of little children. Just atrocious. And I'm glad the government is finally acknowledging that. Mm-hmm. In all seriousness, when your kid, both my kids had colic, and so they didn't sleep for like months at a time. And I remember like looking at what they were doing to prisoners in Abu Ghraib, and it was the same thing. Loud noises all the time.
That actually looks pleasant.
Comparatively, yeah, I would take it. You're not able to sleep. Loud noises, constantly being interrupted. It's torture. It's the literal definition of torture. Do I love my kids? Jury's out. But I'm glad somebody's acknowledging how hard it is.
Well, so apparently, according to the statistics, 48% of parents say most days their stress is completely overwhelming, compared with 26% of other adults who reported the same. By the way, 26% also seems high just for everybody else. But 48%, holy fuck. Now, Fugelsang, your kid is 10-ish? What is your kid?
12 now. 12. Yes.
Okay. I
wanted to read this article, by the way, but I was too busy weeping openly in public places, so I didn't get to read the whole piece yet. 41% say most days they're too stressed to function. I was like 48. That before I was a parent, so I'm ahead of the curve on all of this. Really, it's just it takes so much work. It takes so much work to pretend you're as happy as the other people on Facebook. We don't talk enough about how hard this is to front like that. So, I mean, I appreciate anybody who puts in the effort to parent. I never saw a job that I could be so bad at and still not be able to be fired at either as well. But my philosophy is he's going to blame me for everything in therapy one day anyway. So let me facilitate that now.
In fairness, I blame you for most of the problems in my life, John.
You have good reason to. It's okay. I was raised Catholic, and I'm very comfortable taking the blame for things I have nothing to do with. I think God will like me more. It is awful, and I completely agree with Surgeon General Murphy that I mean, parental stress is a public health issue, and I got to say, I got to be honest. I keep consuming all this legal cannabis, and I'm still stressed. So I don't know who to be mad about because I'm so high I can barely function. I don't even know where I am right now, and I'm still stressed as a parent. But it's always hard. It's hard for every generation. And our grandparents had problems their parents couldn't believe. Our parents had problems their parents wouldn't. If Lincoln's parents could have given little Abe an iPad so they could go out to a restaurant once in a while, they'd have given the brat the iPad, and our greatest president would have played Minion Rush while his parents got saner, and maybe he would have been happier in his life. So we're all adapting, we're all doing our best, and it's going to be a mess for our child when the AI robots aren't doing the job they were designed to do of raising their kids for them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I found really shocking, and I mentioned this on the show before, this statistic has been around, that working mothers today spend more time with their children than stay-at-home moms did in the 70s. And I mean, I think part of the problem is this, like you mentioned Facebook, Fugelsang, there's like a little bit of this group think, this group pressure, this peer pressure that goes on of like, oh my God, I have to do awesome things with my children all the time. It has to be constant enrichment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If my daughter says something about a worm, I will try and like fucking educate her about worms. And I don't know 2 things about worms. So then I'm like researching worms, and then she's forgotten about the worm by the time I have some information about worms. And like, I drive myself crazy by and she's 5, turning everything into an educational situation. And also one of the things that they've mused about why this might be happening, and I wonder what you guys think about it, is that people that kind of in our general age group have a feeling like that our children are not going to do better than us, so we have to set them up to be fucking masters of the universe because they're going to have no money unless we do that. And I wonder if that fear has propelled you in your years of parenting.
No, tariffs are going to pay for childcare, and I've heard this extensively. Tariffs are going to cover all of this, and it's going to make food prices cheaper. And JD Vance assures me that grandparents live to be free babysitters, both daytime and nighttime hours. So I think we're in good shape.
Did that work concern you, Michael? Like the sense that they might fucking not have a future?
I remember when my wife was pregnant. Now my kids are old now. I have senior level children. They're 23 and 21. But I remember there was this product called Baby Einstein, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Where you would basically educate. I feel like at times there was the neonatal aspect of it, like you could play Mozart for your kid while it was still in utero, and then Baby Einstein, like they would teach you how to solve differential equations by the time they were 6 months old. And when I started seeing this shit, I was like, you know what? No, this isn't for me. None of this is for me. I'm just not going to fall into this trap. I think we did a pretty good job of not caring about our children too much, not getting them involved in stuff, not going overboard, like, because it will drive you crazy and it will drive them crazy.
It does. And I mean, like I feel like last semester, I saw this for myself, which was like, I signed her up for 100 things. I was like, oh no, I'm already crazy. She already speaks 3 languages. Like I'm that parent that is probably causing a lot of problems for other parents. Like, you know what I mean? And just in terms of like the pressure I have on myself and probably on her. And last semester, I like clearly signed her up for like one too many things. She like barely had any free time, and we were all miserable, like as a family. And so I do like the idea of just like, do not get them involved in too many things, because like, what is the point of that? You don't have any leisure. You have no time for like introspection and relaxation and fucking cartoons,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if one style of parenting is better than the other. I mean, it is true. I think when the 3 of us, were generally growing up, I don't know how old you are, Negin, but there was that thing of like, your parents would just send you outside and instruct you not to come back for hours. And they didn't know where we were. They didn't know what we were doing. Is that better? I don't know. I mean, I was bored a lot of the time. I was in the woods a lot of the time. Is that better? I don't know. I mean, it's easy to look back and say, oh yeah, that was better. It really got my imagination going. But I don't know that that's true or not. I mean, John, you just said you grew up, neurotic. I grew up neurotic. Negin, you seem like a nutcase. Like, we're all messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Fugelsang, is there something you want the government to do? Like, is there, the Surgeon General came out with this, okay,
Yeah, I think they need to
so
do a
now
better
what?
job raising my kids for me. I mean, I think government needs to do a much better job raising all of our kids for us.
No, but I agree.
I mean, every generation grows up with fear of safety for a child and the financial worry for a child and all the teenage stuff that goes with it. And we happen to have grown up into the generation that gets added on to that, like iPhones and social media and a mental health crisis among preteens and a loneliness epidemic and COVID-19 and guns are
Not to
everywhere.
mention Chappell Roan's political views,
Exactly
which are
right.
just throwing everything into a tailspin.
Exactly right. So, I mean, I think we really need to remember the solution to all of this is to overstructure your children's life as substantially as possible and don't allow any time for them to process until they're old enough.
All right, folks, tell me, are you parenting yourself into an absolute miserable frenzy like I have been? And what's your solution? Hit
Just
me up.
buy your kid all the newest gadgets so they'll believe you love them. It's not that complicated, folks.
Oh, it's so hard. By the way, though, I do want to say it's the best thing I've ever done and all that stuff. So just for the record, that stuff is also kind of true. Okay, let us move on to topic number 3. Cards Against Humanity is paying $47 to people who didn't vote in 2020 if they post a vote plan, and they say in that plan that Trump is a human toilet. They're also sending people to Elon Musk's website, so because Elon Musk has a PAC, and basically, if you say that you referred to Elon Musk by Cards Against Humanity, then Elon's PAC is legally obligated to pay Cards $47 per referral. So there's this weird, hilarious thing that's happening where people are now going to Elon's site and getting and the referral fee is going to Cards Against Humanity. I don't know. What do you think of these shenanigans?
In general, I like shenanigans. Whoever's committing them, whoever's doing shenanigans, I'm all in favor of it. Now, is that because one of my favorite restaurants growing up was Bennigan's? Maybe. Is it because I'm in comedy and I like the word shenanigans? Maybe. But I do like the idea of Elon Musk having to outlay $47 to everybody who goes to his website. All you have to do is say that you got referred by Cards Against Humanity and Cards Against Humanity. You don't have to donate to Elon's PAC?
No, you have to say, because Elon is also doing a thing where he's paying people $47 if they have a voting plan or whatever. You can't pay people to vote, but you can pay, you can work around the edges of that. So that's what he's doing. He's paying people $47. So then so he has a referral thing. If you are referred by Cards Against Humanity, that $47 goes to Cards Against Humanity.
Why doesn't it go to me?
You know what? Let's email Cards Against Humanity immediately and ask why.
I mean, I'm not thrilled about giving Cards Against Humanity money, but I do like the idea of Elon giving me money. I like that.
Well, what's interesting? Cards Against Humanity has been in the doing weird stuff like this for a while. They actually sued SpaceX for $15 million after the company trespassed on and damaged their Texas property. And they actually bought that property from fans to stop Trump from building a section of the U.S.-Mexican border wall. So Cards Against Humanity has been in the shenanigans
Is that how they can afford
game.
to do this? My whole thing is, how does Cards Against Humanity have the money for any of this? Aren't they apps against humanity at this point? Like card games still have this kind of sway in the public sphere? I mean, look, I think it's great they're trying to copy Elon Musk, ironically, but when I want to do that, when I want to copy Elon, I just do ketamine and destroy my company's stock value and burn down my relationship with my children. But you do you,
Negin, okay, maybe you need to schedule a Cards Against Humanity session with your kid. That's just one more thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's no, and then that's not where I would stop, Michael. What I would do was hire a tutor and make sure that she becomes, and she would have a structured every Tuesday, Thursday session where she would really become a grandmaster of Cards Against Humanity. All right, let's move on to another little piece of cultural news. In the olden days, portion sizes were normal, small by today's standards. But in the 80s, excess took over and portion sizes went off the rails. This is the world I grew up in, huge portion sizes. Now, despite everything policymakers have been trying to do to change this, like posting calorie counts was like a big one in the last few years, nothing has changed, except now there might be a change because more than 75% of customers say they want smaller portion sizes for less money. So cost might actually shrink portion sizes. Is this a pipe dream, or do you feel like this could really take hold?
It is a
Pipe dream.
a deep pipe dream, and I don't want to know what's in the pipe. No restaurant anywhere will ever consider lowering any prices. They'll lower the sizes. They will not lower the price. If you think smaller portions are going to make dining out less expensive, I have some shrinkflation I want to sell you. We already know how this works. It's another ploy, like 30% more to eat out since the pandemic. I mean, they remember there was a whole movement to lower sodium in restaurants and packaged foods, and then we stopped talking about it, and that went away. We already have a way to have smaller portions, and it's called Europe. It's called Europe, and they do just fine. And Ozempic's cheap there, even though they need it less. But I mean,
well, by the way, Ozempic is one of the things. So it's like a three-prong reason why where experts think that this could actually work. One is the cost, and so they're seeing more snack size things. Like I was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day, which is a hard brag on my part, and I noticed like these bagel bite thingies, and I had never seen that before. This maybe also is an indication of how often I go to a Dunkin' Donuts, but like I was like, oh, there's a lot of like snack items on this menu, and then I ended up reading this article. I was like, oh, maybe this is all connected, which is they're creating items that are more like snack type items because of the snackification of American food, and also because people want something to be cheaper. But the other thing that is happening is Ozempic. Like people just don't want to eat as much because they just can't fit that much in their stomachs because of the Ozempic reduces your willingness to eat. So I know plenty of people that are on Ozempic who actually don't need to be for medical reasons. They're just doing it to be skinny. And bless their hearts, they can do whatever. But I have gone out to lunch with a couple of these friends, and I've just noticed like they are just eating half of the meal. So this could be something depending on how many of us fucking go on Ozempic.
The dirtiest words in America are portion control, Negin. Americans will part with their religious convictions before they part with their comfort food. You want smaller portions for a lower price? It's called the kids menu. It's already here.
Yeah, I don't see Americans embracing less. That just goes against everything that I have been taught as a greedy American. We don't accept less. Less of, fewer than. Those are not words that sit comfortably in my American lexicon.
Okay, here's one more reason why this could work. Again, you guys are so skeptical of the shrinking portion sizes, but one more thing that might be driving it is climate change, because as much as 40% of food served at restaurants never gets eaten, and it's wasteful, right? It ends up in landfills or whatever. And for example, California and Massachusetts have restricted how much food can end up in landfills. In New York City, we just started a composting program for city dwellers. It's going to be mandatory coming the new year. So there could be something there that restaurants are like, we don't want to just keep filling these compost bins. Let's just fucking reduce the portion size. No, you guys are both shaking your heads.
When Americans are willing to do even less regarding climate change than they are willing to do for their personal health and well-being. The idea that Americans care enough about the climate to say, no, thank you, I don't want more fries, feels like a stretch to me.
Okay, I'm gonna say one last thing to try and change your minds. And
By the
this
way,
It's
can I
not.
just?
It's not my mind. You have to change.
Yeah. By the way, Negin, do you think Costco is going to stop selling bags of chips that can feed 50 people because of this headline? Do you think that's ever going to stop? I mean, it's the portion.
No, I know. I
I
like
view it
just
in New
the
York City, any
existence of
restaurant
Costco is the
visit.
problem.
In New York City, any restaurant visit yields 2 meals. I learned this when I was a teenager. Oh, tomorrow's lunch is here on my plate today. That's how you do it, and get around this problem. I mean, 40% of us are obese, 9% of us are severely obese. If you throw an overweight, that goes up to 70% of adults. And that's why, again, Ozempic's very expensive here. They're giving it away for free in the UK right now. This is still going to be all about profit. And I'd just like to say,
Wait, is that real? Is that
yeah,
real?
yeah,
Fugelsang, they're giving it away for free in the
for
UK?
the obese
I
To
didn't.
heavy
population.
workers, right?
In Denmark, it's
Yeah.
$186 a month. In Germany, it's $137 a month. In the UK, it's $92 a month. Here, it's $1,300 a month. So it's not going to be hitting a lot of Americans who need it just yet. But I'd also remind everybody, once Donald Trump and President Vance deport 11 million undocumented immigrants, we'll all be eating a lot less because a salad's going to cost $75 and no one's going to be working in your meat processing plants anymore. So don't worry, the solution's coming.
Okay. So one thing I want to see if we can sort of get to popularize culturally is the right to customization. Right? We ask for a lot of stuff when we order our food. We ask for the steak to be done medium. We ask for we ask for, oh, can I get fries instead of a salad? Like, we customize the shit out of our orders, but the only thing we don't customize is size. So I want to add, just as an American, the right to customization should include size. And I feel like there's like a cultural a moment that could popularize
Can it be
that.
in pretentious Italian terms for each of the sizes? Can we do that? Because I could sign
Right.
on.
Yeah. I would like this venti. Yeah, like my steak au poivre and
But how
free
annoying would you
venti.
be, Nadine, if I'm a waiter and you come in and you're like, I'd like this, but I'd like it 30% smaller,
Yeah.
and I'd like you to reduce the price by 30% as well.
Yeah, I
And
mean, as someone who has waited plenty of tables, I would say, by the way, and I waited tables, not to brag, and I mention this so often, in France. And by the way, the French, I had to deal with like a prefix menu once that had any number of combinations, and it was insane, and I wasn't allowed to write anything down. And I'll just say, the French waiters, they just take it on the chin, and they're just like, okay, and they just fucking, so I can say, as a former waiter, I would have been annoyed, and then I would have been like, it's okay, I get it.
Because you're
think
not, you're
the
not
thing to
actually
do-
French. Because you're not French. You would have been rude if you had been, but it was okay because you're not. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
That's true.
I'm just thinking, if you want to get a sense of where Americans' heads are on this, just go to any cheesecake factory at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and you'll see that at that early hour, you probably still have to wait 45 minutes to get a table at any random cheesecake factory, because we just love to stuff our faces because we're dead inside, Nikki. We're dead inside. And this is the
And
only thing that makes us feel.
I think that's a good way to end this segment. All right, folks, that is the end of the show. Oh my God, what a fun time I had talking with you guys. And I want for the people of Fake the Nation to be able to follow you and all the wonderful things that you do. John Fugelsang, where do they do that?
I'm on SiriusXM every night, and you can hear the podcast every morning, and on tour with the Sexy Liberal Show, and just at John Fugelsang, but you have to be able to spell that word. Thank you so much.
Michael Ian Black, where do they find you?
I'm also at John Fugelsang, which is weird.
Yeah,
It's very confusing for people. But if you want to support me in any way, shape, or form, at Michael Ian Black on Twitter mostly is where I'm at. And then you can watch Have I Got News for You on CNN on Saturday nights. And Negin was just on; she was terrific. John, I assume you'll be on at some point. You'll be terrific. And yeah.
Guys, Michael is so good on this show. He's so gosh darn fun on this show. So please tune in and then follow him on Twitter. It's a joy to see his hilarity in all forms. And also, as for me, folks, if you're hearing the show before Friday night, you can see me in Reading, Pennsylvania, doing the Muslims Are Coming tour in Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be up with Jabran Salim, Jordan Carlos, and Josh Gondelman. And you'll notice those last two names are not Muslims, but it's like a sort of Muslims plus show, and it's going to be a really good time. You can go to my website to find more details. Don't forget to enjoy subscribing to the Patreon at patreon.com/Negin Farsad. Don't forget to get your
And how much
t-shirt.
money is that exactly? How much money are you making on that?
Don't forget to get your t-shirts at NeginFarsad.com. We're only doing optimism t-shirts. And I would love to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to everyone at HeadGum. Thanks to Gaby Alter for our theme music. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.